Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. I'm sure that you will be having a much better day if you are not so heavily invested in the stock market. But hey, that's actually alluding to one of our stories that, because we are a tech show, not so much a financial analyst, show. So take that segment when we do it with a grain of salt. We're not going to give any advice, but we will be looking into why tech companies are, it's funny because I just doing research for the show, and one of the first articles to pop up about tech companies is that, this year tech companies are the biggest winners. And yet we're seeing tech companies over the past couple of days shed really all their gains over the course of a year in just a couple of days. So we're going to find out why that is, what, if there's anything inherently wrong with the tech side of, of these companies. But we're going to analyze that fear. So we have a lot more stories other than that. So you want to stick around for the second part of the program where we do computer and technology news. And but in the first segment, we have none other than Epson themselves. That's right, they're a printer company. But today we will be talking about a product called the FastFoto, and it's going to be all about scanning photos. And I think this is going to be super relevant because obviously, I think as the holidays draw near, you start to see some of these family members, and you realize that hey, maybe in some cases, they are the archivists. They hold all the photos, and maybe it's time to finally digitize those photos. You've been kicking it down the road. I know that we have for almost a decade now. We've had the ability, but not the gumption. So we're going to talk about all that scanning, and I can't think of anyone else better than Epson. So with that being said, let's go ahead and discuss a couple of things. The first thing, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything from the show notes, which will include a link to our guest website, the products that we talk about, any reviews, any articles, any videos, anything that we showed today on the program, you can find right there at computeramerica.com. While you're there, check out the social media contests brought to you by Logitech, and be sure to check out the live video stream, which can also be found over at Twitch. Just look up Computer America. Now, all of that being said, let's go ahead. I believe he's waiting patiently in the wings, and joining us by phone is Mr. David Hawks. He goes by Dave. He is the scanner product manager for Epson. And Dave, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. How you doing?
Hey, Ben, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. You're coming in loud and clear, and obviously, I believe the best place to start would be the beginning. Tell us a bit about Epson, just a quick overview, because I'm sure a lot of people have either in their homes or their workplaces touched an Epson product before. And then tell us a bit about, or actually, better yet, more pertinent to this conversation, tell us about Epson's history with scanners, and then tell us about yourself. How did you find yourself working with Epson?
Sure. So Epson is very well known, in the world in general for printing and imaging, and part of imaging goes scanners. Now, scanners come in a couple different flavors. Usually, we're talking about document scanners or photo scanners. Today, we'll be talking about strictly photo scanners. That technology, by the way, dramatically different from each other. So, my background, I started back, my dad worked for Kodak for 50 years or something ridiculous like that. So I've been in imaging for, since the time I could walk. And my whole career has been around imaging in one form or another. And so since I've been with Epson, I've been concentrating on the scanner portfolio. And I have to say, I hate to play favorites, but my favorite part of my portfolio is the FastFoto. It's so much fun. It's really a great product to show off.
Yeah, and so for anyone out there watching the video portion, we have, obviously the product page of the Epson FastFoto, and that's going to be, kind of our topic of conversation today. And let's get talking about, why you decided to design the FastFoto. You mentioned that there are document scanners; those have been around for a long time. We've seen, kind of flatbed scanners built into a lot of different products, especially from Epson. A lot of printers kind of come with flat top scanners. This one is a bit different. Let's see. So how would be the best way to kind of take this? Let's describe the FastFoto, and then we'll talk about its features and, kind of who you designed this for. But for everyone out there simply listening, describe the FastFoto. What does it look like, and how does it operate?
Yeah, so FastFoto, dramatically different than most photo scanners you see out there. Most photo scanners you're going to see are flatbed scanners. And they have their place. They do an excellent job of what they're designed for. But what they're not designed for is to take that huge box of photos that I think everyone's mother-in-law has in their house and then easily turn those into a digital format that you can share. That's what actually that's what flatbed scanners don't do a great job for, just because it's not time effective, where FastFoto does an excellent job with that. We term FastFoto as the world's fastest personal photo scanner. We can scan an image a second. It feeds that fast. You can put it at 300 DPI, 600 DPI, all the way up to 1200 DPI. And it doesn't matter if you're scanning like a 2x2 inch, school photo of your kids, or if you're scanning a panoramic photo that's 3 feet long, it can do either one. So it's highly efficient, and as it scans, it's also enhancing the image quality, and it does a really, really good job of that.
So, and obviously, we're going to talk about, I believe it's, So, we have some of the features here. Let's start with the basics, which is that the holidays. You are obviously on the show here. It's Thanksgiving is like 2 days away. By the way, everyone, Computer America won't be on the air for Thanksgiving. But I want to say that you're going to be, I'm sure that a lot of people will be visiting family, friends, things like that, and have these photos and these kinds of things. How big is it, or how big of a problem is it for, I guess, I don't know if you do market research or if it's just in your personal opinion, in the people that you know, what do you think has been the main barrier? Because digitizing photos has been a big initiative of a lot of people for 10 years, and especially the past 5 years. Actually doing it seems to be the hardest part because, having the technology out there, it's been there. But, either from natural disaster or something happens or, whatever, people lose their only physical copy of a photo. And it's devastating because you can't get back a water damaged picture. It's just gone. So in your opinion, why do you think people kind of put this off, and how do you think, the FastFoto, kind of tackles those issues?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you just brought up there that I want to touch on. First of all, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? There's 164 years of photographs in this world. That's how long photography had been around before digital kind of took over and took control. No one is really looking at photos, actually hard copy photos anymore. If you think about it, back in the day, everyone had photo albums on their coffee table, right? And you would come in, and that's one of those things you look. No one does that anymore. So there's all these memories that no one is looking at. And that is the beauty of FastFoto. It's really fun to reconnect people with, their own images and their own history. You also touched on some of the immediacy of it, the potential disasters and things like that. Now, so I'm calling from Southern California, and we have a real issue with wildfires right now, and we have for the last few years. And if you ever talk to anyone, okay, if the house is burning down, what would you grab when you leave? And obviously, it's people, pets, valuables, and photos. It's almost always, they're almost all, maybe not always in that order, but those are usually the first things that come up. And it's because photos have such an attachment to your history and to your family and to your memories. And we just don't have a good way today of making those memories come alive with today's technology. Like, even if before FastFoto was around, most people would use, as I mentioned earlier, a flatbed scanner. Okay, that's a real pain in the neck. All right, you're going to take an image. First, you're going to raise the lid of the scanner. You're going to put a photo down. You're going to put the scanner down. You're going to hit start. You're going to tell it, okay, that's what this image is, or you're just going to let the address be automatically assigned by some technology. You're going to crop it. Then you're going to find a place to put it, hopefully where you won't forget it. If you're good, you're talking about 2 photos a minute. If you're good. And most of us, it's more like 1 photo a minute. Okay? So 60 photos in an hour. All right? With FastFoto, I can do 360 photos in an hour, and it doesn't require the operator to do anything other than put a little information in about what it is that you're going to scan. And even that, we have memory functions within the software that remember what your typical subjects are and what your typical indexes are. So when you store those photos using that software, using that information, that now becomes part of your metadata. So not only can you easily store that image, if you want to search on birthdays from 2016, all you have to do is put that in your search criteria, and those photos will come up.
So,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I think as someone who is probably more familiar with technology than most, I can totally see the benefit of software that you could say, I'm going to scan, let's say, summer beach vacation 2017, and, maybe it uses, some kind of image recognition, says, maybe it'll tag people that maybe the software will say, who are the people in the photo, and you tag them, and then it tags the rest automatically. I can totally see software that Epson maybe has worked a lot of years on trying to perfect, and maybe it works very, very well. But I completely realize that I'm probably not the average consumer. I'm probably not the average person who would be even using FastFoto. Everything you're talking about can get complicated. Trust me, I have family members who you look at their photos that they've scanned into their computers, and everything is labeled from 0001 to 834875, and you have to click on each one to see what the heck it even is. How easy is this? Because, like you said, professionals, they probably have a pretty good handle on this, but a lot of people who will be using the FastFoto are not professionals. How easy is this to set up and start using?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. As product manager, I always think of my end users, when we talk about products and stuff. And in this case, I always think of my mother-in-law. So my mother-in-law is 80 years old. We finally got her to take a tablet. She has an iPad now, and that only took a couple of years to get her to do that. And she has, I'm not kidding, one spare bedroom, I swear, is like just full of photos. This is exactly who I had in mind when we came out with the new FastFoto. It had to be easy. It had to be simple. So we did some things. We introduced wireless, so you don't have wires and things like that to do. We introduced that predictive indexing, like I had mentioned to you. to help so you don't have to do a lot of data entry to scan your photos. We made sure that was part of the metadata. We made sure that the photos were automatically corrected. So we made it very, very simple that anyone can come up and start scanning and go through all their photos and, put them to work digitally. It's really, this product is so different than anything else that's available in the market.
Mm-hmm.
It is currently the fastest growing scanner in the market. It doesn't matter if it's a doc scanner or if it's a photo scanner. It's the fastest growing scanner in our market segment.
I'm sure that you have all the access to the metrics that I never will, but I will say that would probably be what we're talking about, which is, we've had the capability. There have been other products that have tried to tackle this market, but I don't know if FastFoto is going to be the perfect storm of finally technology being fast enough, easy enough to use with some intelligence inside of it, but products have tried for 10 years, but hey, looks like FastFoto has really done something special here. And actually, speaking of which, I wanted you to kind of name some of those features that make it stand out from the market, because one of them was the DPI. I remember the last time that Computer America reviewed, it actually might have been an Epson, but the last time we reviewed one of these kind of standing scanner kind of deals, you rambled off some DPI, some DPI, and I want you to, of course, explain that. But the last one that we reviewed had things like 150 DPI, had 300 DPI, and I think it topped out. It might have topped out at 600 DPI. You put some numbers out there that were much higher than that, which means very basically better looking photos. So what makes FastFoto stand out? And if you could also talk about how good some of these photos, kind of end up looking.
Yeah, it's a good point. So a couple of things, right off the bat that we talked about. Number one, we talked about how fast it was and how easy it was. Those are two huge, huge features about people that buy this scanner. But, if you go beyond that, what's really interesting is when people take photos, particularly one maybe you never saw or something you haven't seen in decades, and you look at this, like a typical, photo, 4x6 or, something along, even smaller than that. And now you've got this memory that's very present in your mind, and you turn around and say, I want to do something with that photo. Like Christmas time, great example. You want to take a photo of, one of your parents or your someone who's very meaningful in your life. You want to blow that up and give it to people as a gift. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, now sometimes at 300 DPI, that looks pretty good. But make that 600 DPI, and it looks a whole lot better. Often, in our case, particularly if we start talking about panoramas, people will often scan those in at 1200 DPI and recreate them even in a larger image. So you might even blow that up more. What's interesting is that, particularly like panoramas, let me use that as an example. Panoramas are almost always up on the wall somewhere. You're not going to have like a photo album with panoramas in it, right? Because otherwise it'd be 3 feet long, right? So you've got this thing, and 9 times out of 10, these are sun damaged, okay? Because they've been on the wall for who knows how long, and you've got this image that eventually sun goes after it. That's photography. That's what happens to it. That happens with printing in general. What I love about FastFoto is its ability to correct. I mentioned to you that I'm kind of a Kodak brat, so I go back a long ways, and most of the time with scanners, I turn off that capability. I practice what I preach, by the way. I converted 2 boxes of photos that I had into digital, and at first I was looking at every image to make sure I was okay with the photo correction, and then after about 20 images, I said, you know what? You just correct it, because every time it was excellent, and it does a really fantastic job of doing that. So the image quality enhancement is really fantastic. I mentioned too that we made it wireless and stuff like that, and that's all nice, and that helps a lot.
Right.
One other feature that people really love, and this is a real pain if you were doing it on a flatbed scanner. If FastFoto detects that there is writing on the back of the photo, you can set it up so it automatically captures that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you know what? 9 times out of 10, that's your mom that wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably 2 reasons. Number 1, Dad's handwriting is horrible, and that's just, and that's kind of a mom thing to do. They want to capture the memory, and that is part of it. That is why this product can be so emotional to people. That not only are they seeing images that they hadn't looked at, in years, if at all, and they see someone that they love had input to it, and it just really makes it connect.
Right. Now, let's, and you're absolutely right. I know that a ton of photos will label, kind of the people and the location, things like that. So the fact that it will pick that up is definitely a great feature. One feature that, here on your website that I don't think we've brought up yet is the fact that some of these photos, you mentioned sun damage, but others are just old. Others are, can be very, very fragile. And you have something called Epson Safe Touch, and I'm sure that everyone, has some kind of daydream that you put your priceless old, family photo in, and out comes like a literal shredder out the other side. That's certainly not what you want. So talk about Safe Touch, what went into that, and why did you include Safe Touch?
Yeah, that's a great point. So the FastFoto 680W, that's the one we came out. And by the way, it came out, August, I believe it was. So that is the follow-through to the first one, which came out in April 2016. That was our FastFoto 640. And that took the world by storm. But we got a lot of feedback from people saying, we love that thing, and it was selling great, but can you do this? Can you make it better? And everything they were saying, we realized, we can do this. We can do this. And part of that was exactly what you were saying. Like, people were hesitant to feed in, a family photo. Like I mentioned, I just did a whole
2 boxes,
whole stack
right?
of my own. My mother was the 1932 Rose Queen of Honey Eye Falls, New York.
Very cool.
And I've got this, it's the only photo we have of her, and she was, 16 years old or something. And it was, it's really, I would never let anything hurt that photo. With FastFoto, we created roller technology that feeds it through gently. If you have an extra special document, we actually have a slip sheet that allows you to take your image, put it in the slip sheet, and feed that through. The scanner automatically detects that slip sheet is being fed and slows down the scanning process to make sure that that's handled with kid gloves. So it's really, it's a really cool technology. I haven't hesitated to put anything through it, and I've had no issues as a result of it. It's not the type of scanner that's going to turn into a shredder.
Yeah, no, perfect. That's I'm sure that's what people want to hear. Like you said, with photos that may have been one benefit that a flatbed scanner would have over one of these feeding scanners. But hey, that's very, very good to hear that you definitely have thought about that. Talk about real quick you mentioned kind of quickly a stack of photos, things like that. I know that my mother, she recently took on the job of making photo albums. And by the way, today's her birthday, so I'm sure she's listening. I should probably say happy birthday, Mom. But I will say that she started to put together these photo albums, and I'm sure she's either going to strangle me after this interview and say, Ben, why didn't you tell me something like this was out there before I made photo albums? But photo albums are more than just one photo after another. She's putting them together kind of collage style onto entire pages of this album. But I think it would still be very cool to feed these pages through, kind of as she has made them. How big can the FastFoto kind of go? Because regular 4x6s, I completely understand. What's the maximum? What's the minimum photo?
Yeah, anything 8.5 inches wide we can put through, and up to 3 feet long.
Very, very cool. Yeah, so she says that's called scrapbooking. So and so that's very, and 3 feet long. Why did you decide to do the 3 foot long thing? Yeah, obviously for the for the panoramas, but that seemed very, very specialty. I mean, was that also an asked for feature?
Yeah, well, it's actually feedback we got because we originally didn't really handle with the first version of FastFoto. It didn't handle images like that very well, and that's where we learned that there's a lot of panoramas that are sun damaged. There's a lot that people would like to have and to recreate, but they can't do anything with it. You do this big thing, and so fast we can do it. The great thing that we did with FastFoto was that Epson has a lot of experience in doing document scanning. We have a lot of experience in doing photo scanning. Document scanners and photo scanners have always been dramatically different from each other. But we realized, we know enough from our photo scanning that we can modify and improve the basic doc scanner functionality and make it so it can handle photos. Not only handle it, but do it very, very well. One of the things that came up pretty quick when we started scanning was that Polaroids. There's a ton of Polaroids out there. The tricky thing about a Polaroid is there's no negative. So if you lose that Polaroid, that's it, right? There's no recovery. So the other side of it is Polaroids are tricky. They have an emulsion on the front of them, and they're a little bit thicker substrate, so they don't feed through quite the same as normal photos. And as a result, we were getting a lot of reflectance, so the image was not as good as we were used to. So we did a lot of work with that when we came out with the FastFoto 680W. One of the great things was not only can we do Polaroids now, but the image quality for everything was improved because of the technology and the investment we made in the software on that. So this is kind of the second version of FastFoto software, and it's far, far improved over what we had before.
Perfect. And actually, that's something that I wanted to talk about, which is being able to improve those photos. I'm sure that this is going much further than simply putting a sepia filter over a photo or something like that, or I guess negating a sepia filter. But talk about what the software can do. If someone wanted to get a little bit more hands-on with a particularly sun damaged photo or something like that. I'm sure that Epson software will try to auto-touch that up, but are there other tools in the software that will let you kind of play with levels and see if you can get it a little bit clearer?
It does a lot of really basic things which you would expect. Like some of the software does, if you feed the photo in upside down, it'll automatically rotate it.
Oh, that's nice.
Do things like that. Yeah, that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice to have. As I mentioned, I really like the photo enhancement capability, but there's some people that turn around and say, you know what? I don't want that. I want to see, okay, you do a photo enhancement for me, and then I also want to see what the original looked like. And then maybe I'll just take that original and play with it myself in Photoshop or whatever it might be. You can do that. You can have two images. You can say, okay, here's your original. That's what it scans like. Here is our enhancement. Do you want to keep them both? Do you want to get rid of one? What would you like to do? So it's pretty flexible. For typical photographers, again, my test market, my mother-in-law, the photo enhancement is more than adequate. And it's really interesting to just see how much better the scanned image can be, often than the original. It's just really much, much better. We've improved a lot with our technology.
I wasn't trying to allude to the fact that maybe you have a full blown let's say maybe a full blown Adobe product inside your software, but some maybe like a quality slider and just a simple drag left and right and see what looks better. But at the very least, having the before and the after. Super, super good. So, and actually, Dave, we're about to head off into break. Do you have a couple minutes to join us on the other side of the break, or do you have to run?
No, I've got all the time.
Perfect. All right, cool. So, he says he has all the time. So, folks, we're going to keep him for about 5 more hours, and totally joking. But no, we have about a minute left before the break. So, I think before we go, we'll at least introduce the idea of the next topic, which has to do with how to how to actually manage all these photos when you actually scan them in, because like I said, family members, they have hard drives full of photos that are, kind of everywhere. And then the idea of even backing these things up to somewhere so that they're actually safe, because if you have the original right next to your hard drive and something happens to your house, you're no better off than you were before. So I think when we come back, Dave, would you mind talking about, kind of backing up and managing this data?
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right. So everyone, the music means we're going to take a break, and everyone, we are talking to Mr. Dave Hawks. He is the Epson Scanner product manager, and for Epson America. Everyone, stay tuned. More Computer America right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And for anyone out there who missed any part of the show up until this point, feel free to check us out wherever podcasts are heard, be it iHeartRadio, Google Play, iTunes, so on and so forth, SoundCloud. You can find today's show in its entirety re-uploaded after the program. And if you're not able to catch the live show, that's the next best thing. And whichever way you choose to watch or listen to Computer America, hey, we love you for it. So we have been talking to, so far, Mr. David Hawks, goes by Dave's, scanner product manager for Epson America. And we have been talking all about the FastFoto, the FastFoto. And for everyone out there listening, we have been talking about a particular product. I have it right here, the FastFoto 680W. The FF-68. So, obviously, names are names. I'm sure that if you're in the industry, those numbers make a lot more sense to you. But just remember FastFoto. I'm sure you can see it out there available. But and we're going to talk about how much it is and where to get it, towards the end. But Dave, thank you for continuing on with us. And as I mentioned before the break, scanning the photos, that's one thing. Managing and backing up these photos is a completely different thing. And like you said, your test audience or your target audience might not be that savvy to actually put these things where they need to be. So how do you manage that as well?
So sure. Let me talk a little bit about what to do with images once you've got it. Because you before the break, you were talking about, hey, if you just put this on your hard drive, you're taking the same kind of chances you would get, if you just left your photos in a box.
Right.
It's the whole beauty of digital is you can put it in so many different places, not only for backing up but for sharing it. So if you've got FastFoto, you're going to back up your images. That's kind of a no-brainer. You may very well put them on your hard drive. A lot of space, though, if you're doing that. There are so many cloud programs available for storage that a lot of people choose to do that instead. You can put them on Facebook. You can put them on a variety of different social media platforms. And that's when they really start to take life, right? That's when you bring those memories back alive. And that's a great thing to do. But from strictly a storage perspective, there's 100 different ways to store your images now that will never, ever be lost.
Right, and that of course is very, very important. Personal Google Drive, because Google is so omnipresent, but there are many other options. And you're right. I mean, being able to share these photos, that should be the end goal, not just backing them up, but actually being able to look at them. So let's see. So all that being said, I think we've talked about kind of the nitty gritty, and why don't we go ahead and talk about how much this thing is, because you mentioned 2 boxes. I haven't had to have photos, or I haven't taken photos in to be developed, but I think they charge by like the the size and the number of the photos. But it can get expensive. If you take it to a professional and you have them organize it and you have them scan it and you have them upload it and whatever, you're talking hundreds, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, or not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds or thousands of dollars for, depending on the amount of photos. How much is a FastFoto, and kind of who should be interested in, like, how big of a job would you kind of recommend, say, for 100 photos that you have laying around, maybe take that into a store. But if you are someone with X amount of photos, really look into getting the FastFoto.
You know what? The prices range dramatically, but 20 to 50 cents an image is not unusual. Mm-hmm. So you start getting up to $1,000 pretty quick.
Right.
And a lot of people are more than happy to pay for that. Again, you're talking about memories that they just can't be replaced, right? So, you have that capability. So FastFoto list price is $5.99. We're coming up here on Black Friday in a couple days, and so I know there's some really inexpensive prices going out there. But we realize this is not a real cheapo scanner. This is not a really inexpensive device. And that's because it does a lot. We put a lot of investment in order for it to, be able to have the image quality that it has. I'm going to bring up one thing we haven't really chatted much about, but one of the things we got feedback from on the first version of FastFoto, and that was the FastFoto 640 from our end users, was, hey, look, I use this thing for a lot more than photos. I also use it for document scanners. And honestly, we hadn't made the FastFoto to scan documents. You scan documents dramatically different the way you scan photos. We do both. So we actually have the ability on FastFoto 680W. You can switch your software from photo to document scanning and scan your documents as well. It does a great job on documents.
And that's a weird thing, because the entire time I was just, kind of assuming that obviously you take a picture of the front, so any kind of document scanning would be simply a picture of the front, with maybe some OCR thrown in. And I was thinking, maybe old letters that, that family members may have sent. But you're saying that people are using it for, I guess, office productivity, not even so much, kind of saving old memories, but just for general office use. You're saying that it's suitable for that as well?
Yeah, documents usually fall into a couple categories. You've got the, certificates or something that has great value and it's a one of a kind. It might have a signature on it. It might be the title to your car or whatever it is, and you want to scan that in, and you want to do so accurately. That's great. And then the other are just something simple like receipts and things like that, invoices that you use for taxes, and you're going to, You're going to toss those at the end of the year, or hang on to them for 5 years, for heaven's sake. And with the scanner, you don't have to really worry about that. It all goes strict back to digital, and you can store it and retrieve it and find it when you need it, and that way you don't lose anything in the process.
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off there, but I will say that we have had Epson on the show before, talking about document scanners in particular. So there's definitely a lot of value proposition to be had there, but I guess this one also throws in, the fact that, hey, it can do photos really, really, really well, and that's where you really start to see that even after, let's say you've scanned every photo in your house or that you can put your hands on, it's still a useful piece of equipment, because odds are, you're going to be, having some form of paper in your life going forward.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a couple kids, so I mean, number one, obviously there's tons of documentation, but their artwork, their notes, there's all the little stuff you kind of want to hang on to, but you don't, because it takes up a lot of space and gathers dust really quickly. Mm-hmm. We save it all. It's easy, and you just feed it through and you're done.
Very, very, very cool. And of course, these can be, I guess the standard would be something closer to 600 DPI, and then, kind of the quick stuff can be 300, and then, something you really want in really, really good quality, like those, my mom still has the picture of the tooth fairy that we drew in kindergarten hanging on her wall. So if she wanted that, she could have that in 1200 DPI, and it would look really, really good on any surface or on any device. So
the other thing is we can also store it in TIFF now. This is very popular.
Explain TIFF, because I think people understand JPEG. That's there's a lot of compression. There could be some distortion. The standard is pretty good, but talk about TIFF and why you made that decision.
Yeah, so tagged information format, TIFF, is primarily used in imaging for when you want to blow something up, when you want to make it larger, okay, and just more accurately reproduces the image than what a JPEG or other technology might do for you. So you often find, the higher-end photographers want their images all stored in a TIFF format.
I gotcha. And of course, that's still compatible with all devices and things like that. So still going to be good.
Yeah.
Yep. And makes perfect sense. So I think, again, with the FastFoto, this latest generation that you just released, I believe you said in August, you have available for $59.99. So about $600. But like we said, if you do have a lot of those photos, that's like half the cost, I think, of a lot of people who have a lot of photos sitting around. And at that point, you're paying yourself for your own time, but very, very affordable when you think about what it can do.
Yeah, you bring it down to basics. There could be a fistful of photos that are worth far more than $600 to you. If you were to lose everything. That really strike at the heart of who you are and what you've done in your life. And FastFoto backs that all up, and shares it.
Maybe the last thing that we should kind of mention before we kind of wrap up and say goodbye. The last thing you mentioned, you're in Southern California. It seems like a lot of tech companies that come on the show are. I hope that you and your family and all of the Epson employees are okay. But natural disasters do happen. I remember seeing an interview with the wife of a huge country singer. And, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how well off or how famous you are. It's very humanizing to see someone say that, we lost all of our, kids' baby photos because they were in the house when a hurricane came or something like that. It affects everyone equally. It doesn't discriminate. And so obviously, talk about some best practices that, maybe you've picked up through working with Epson or just in your day-to-day life about, scanning your photos and then how best to back them up and save your data just as best practice.
Yeah, sure. So for FastFoto in general, so you can scan a lot of different formats, right? We've talked all the way up to, 3 feet long. When I scanned my photos, I found with some experience that I ended up sorting them into basic sizes. So I was scanning similar size photos. I just found it a better way to go for two reasons. Number one, almost always time frame and size go together. So if I have images that were from 1974, Dad had a camera that printed in a specific format size, and 90% of the images in 1974 are that size image. So I found it, much easier to scan them and save them in that way. The second thing was the indexing thing of your images. If you had to go in, and even if it was like putting in like 15 characters for every image, can you imagine? You'd go crazy. So I ended up sorting my images by like a year and holiday. And what's interesting is the categories started to kind of organize themselves, and the software saves that. It saves what you've used previously. And so the way my photos were scanned were in about 5 or 6 different categories and by year. And so when I was indexing and storing the data, so let's say it was my daughter's birthday party, I could save from, 1998 birthday, and it would scan all those in that way. And I wouldn't have to enter all that stuff. I could just go to the software and click that category because it memorizes it and saves it. And it made it so much easier. Otherwise you'd be sitting there doing data entry all day, and that's the last thing in the world you want to do.
Right, absolutely. So I think with that being said, Dave, I've taken up more of your time than I planned, but I'm glad that you could stay and and talk to us about the FastFoto. So if people want to find out more, if people want to maybe go look at one or buy one, or where would you recommend people go to find more information about what we've talked about?
You can always look at Epson.com because on our webpage we've got lots of information of all our products, including FastFoto. The major retailers are all carrying FastFoto as well, and we are hitting the holiday season, and that is a big season for FastFoto. So now's a great time to buy one because they're really reasonable in their prices.
Yep. Hey, could not think of anything better to to give where. Hey, this is really going to make a long-term impact on people. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Epson America for coming on. And Dave, thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it, Ben.
All right. It was a lot of fun. And have a great day. Happy holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And hey, stay safe with the fires.
All right. Appreciate it, Ben.
All right. Have a good one. Bye. All right, everyone. And there he goes. And hey, that was Epson. Always fun to talk to Epson and see what it is that they're putting out, because they are an industry leader for a reason, and yeah, so definitely want to have them on as much as possible to see what's new, what's different, what's great. Now, of course, that leaves us with a couple of minutes to do computer and technology news. We had a lot of stories lined up, and yeah, why don't we go ahead, just jump right into that. So computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. Now, with that being said, let's see. So, yeah, a couple of stories. The initial that I think we're going to do has to do with Bitcoin. And I'll admit, I take some kind of weird, twisted enjoyment out of seeing Bitcoin, kind of fall like this, because it was always this technology that the people on the inside knew very, very well, and everyone looking on the outside went, wow, if only I knew about that. How do I get my hands on that? How do I do that? And there was always this duality with cryptocurrency, especially with Bitcoin, that it was going to be the thing of the future. It was the thing of the future. Everything was going to be paid for in Bitcoin. There was it's going to displace fiat currency. It had a lot to live up to, and that reached a fevered pitch when it hit almost $20,000 per Bitcoin. And now we are seeing, of course, the end result. And this actually has a lot of implications for, I say less than a year ago, people were wondering, how do we trade Bitcoin on the market? How do we, register it as a security? How do we, do X, Y, and Z? And now we are seeing, once again, one of the main problems with treating it as a currency. Because it's great when it goes up $2,000 in a single day. And everyone says, wow, this is really, really viable. I can't wait to, see more of this Bitcoin thing. But then when you have days such as today, where it's down about 16%. By the way, when I pulled this story less than an hour ago, it was down about 15%. And it's now down about 16%. So it went from, I think, over $6,400, and now it's at just about $4,000. So, yeah, it's and by the way, it's bouncing back and forth. Now it's back up to 45.25. So it's only down $400 per the day, so about 10%. It's so volatile, so strange to look at, that just seeing these stories, that it can still swing, it can still bounce, even though it's been around for a number of years now, even though you think that after reaching $20,000 it's down so much from its high, it can't possibly swing that much lower. And then you have this massive 15% loss in a single 24-hour period. My point is, Bitcoin not doing well. And, there's some reasons behind that. Let's see. So this article that we have here from CNBC saying that one thing that may be driving this is the feeling, Bitcoin may be feeling the effect of other global markets sliding this week, saying that around, and by the way, that's probably going to be our next story about tech stocks, but there's a panic and sentiment are playing a disproportionate role right now. Saying that, does that mean Bitcoin is broken? No. The use case is still there, but in the short term, panics are panics. And he says that the drop below $6,000 earlier and other key technical levels this week triggered stop losses for traders and likely exacerbated the selling. So obviously when it falls below an X amount, many traders will cut their losses, sell it at that point, which then cause even further slipping. They also say that reports of possible cryptocurrency market manipulation also piled into the negative sentiment. And by the way, that's probably what caused the $20,000, high of Bitcoin, were people pumping Bitcoin up to those insane levels, and then they sold off at the very top, and they sold off a lot, at which point everyone else who bought into it, hoping to make their buck, was left holding the short end of the stick. Let's see. So, and I think the last thing has to do with the fact that, let's face it, Bitcoin in particular, I'm not saying all cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin in particular is very wasteful. It's very wasteful when it comes to electricity, and it's very slow when it comes to actually processing transactions from one person to another. It's just not something that that lends itself to a long-term solution for an alternative to the dollar. And, add on the technical difficulties and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, Bitcoin, you're not doing well. Bitcoin's not dead. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the blockchain are not going away. But this is something that you definitely do want to highlight as someone who maybe is looking into cryptocurrency. Just realize it's a very swingy, scary market. So there you go. There's that one. And by the way, that one is still changing and developing as we talk. It's just crazy. So there's that one. And I did want to get the other one in here, which is tech companies. Tech companies, tech stock, kind of search our inner feelings, much like the Bitcoin, and maybe panic and things like that, maybe having an effect that shouldn't. But let's talk about tech companies and their stock price, because that apparently is the only thing that matters to tech companies lately. So let's treat it that way, saying that another day, another stock market setback for the once high-flying tech companies, who have lost about $1 trillion combined in the latest stock market slide. That's right. So I'm sure they mean over the past week or so, but yeah, a combined $1 trillion wiped out. Yeah, that's something to kind of take note of. So this is coming to us from TechCrunch and Mr. Jonathan Schieber, saying that this collapse is in thanks in part to rising interest rates that investors have looking for a more stable return profile than placing bets on high growth technology companies. There's also some concern that maybe growth won't be so high for these tech companies as they enter their teenage and 20-something years as public companies. You know, if everyone out there is just looking to make a quick buck, then maybe it's best that they did pull their money out of tech companies so they can be a little bit more steady, a little more stable, instead of just getting pumped with all this crazy cash that just keeps flowing into their coffers. Maybe that leads to some more responsible, company policies. But I digress. He said that it's also happening against the backdrop of an overall economic picture that looks less rosy for the United States. Single-family housing starts, which are considered a bellwether for the nation's economic health, are still down from their highs, despite multifamily housing starting to pick up. So, yeah, I guess they're saying that the economy overall is kind of going receding a little bit. So obviously, tech companies are going to feel that as well, and maybe a bit more heavily. Now, if let's see, they said that all this being said, it's a tenuous time for the tech industry, and it might mean the beginning of the end for the current boom cycle. I hope so. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but technology has had this weird obsession lately that it's not about the product. It's not about creating something that people actually want. For the past couple of months, weeks, years, whatever, technology has not been about creating the next best thing in tech. It's been about getting data, getting users, selling to one of the big 3 or 4 companies, which include things like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Alphabet. And that's been the goal for tech. It's find someone who knows what they're talking about, hopefully, give them $100 million in investment, and then turn around and sell that $100 million to one of the companies I just named for potentially $10 billion. And then all the investors are super happy. Facebook, or I say Facebook, but whichever company does happen to buy that company, if someone there did know what they were talking about, they would probably quit shortly after, and they would go off and start another company and do it all over again and earn a lot of money. I don't think it's good for the overall tech industry. I don't think that led to a lot of innovation. It led to a lot of, kind of name dropping and, saying that this person used to work for Google self-driving car program. Now he has a new startup and he just got $15 million in investments. Stay on the lookout for him. I hope we start treating technology a little bit less like a quick, sure moneymaker, and more back to technology is an interesting, very powerful force in our lives. Let's try to do it right, and let's try to do it better. That has not been the case for the past 10 years. So if this cycle of tech boom is at the end, which, hey, this loss of money from the tech stocks may just be the overall may just be the overall stock market. I can't say, again, I'm not telling you to buy or sell or anything like that. What I am saying is that from someone who analyzes technology, I hope that this leads to more innovation and not just the idea that you need to start up the next startup as fast as you can and sell it as fast as you can. Just my 2 cents. So check that out there. And hey, one last piece of advice for all of you people who are maybe dealing with these stock prices. They're not losses until you sell. So everyone, relax, cover your head. We'll see what happens. Now, we are just flat out of time. Yeah, let's see. Actually, why? Oh, that'd be why. So yeah, music is playing in the background. Sorry about that, folks. Music is playing in the background means that we have to wrap it up. Some of the other stories we didn't get to include the Samsung Galaxy S10 Rumors, which I was looking forward to. But for everyone out there who may be interested, the S10, the next generation of the Samsung Galaxy phone, may come with 5G. We talked about the importance of that. And 6 cameras. That's right. Forget 2 cameras. Forget 4 cameras. We are up to 6 cameras. Folks, it's getting redonkulous. It's okay, though. Some other include a couple of others. Everyone, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, and that's where you really, really need to go. So computeramerica.com. Check us out. And until next time, have a great day. Everyone in the chat room, thank you for joining us. Epson America, thank you for tuning in or for joining us on the program. And everyone out there listening to us on IRN, on the podcast, and anywhere else. Hey, thanks for checking out Computer America. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye. Oh, and again, no show Thanksgiving or this Friday. Everyone, bye-bye.